Iain from RTO here. Welcome to the start of another week on the channel. We've got a real mixed bag this week. I'm sure there's something there for everybody this week. So we're going to kick off with a duo from one of my favourite bands. That's Godley and Creme. Now they've been working together for quite a while, as they say. They started together in a band called Dr. Father and the Hot Legs, and then of course they went on to 10cc, wrote some great hits between them, left 10cc at the end of the 70s, formed this duo and stayed around together until the mid 80s, and in that time they've produced other people's videos, facts like Ultravox, The Police, Yes, Duran Duran, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and Wang Chung. But the one they're really known for is their groundbreaking video Cry. And since then they've been involved in music videos, TV commercials and sporadic music projects. Excuse I. So they've released 7 albums. Now they're all very good. There's one album that I'm not particularly keen on. Well, we'll talk about that very shortly. So, coming in at number 7, we've got the 6th album that was released in 1985, and it's called The History Mix Volume 1. Now, this album is a remix of songs spanning their career of Godley and Creme, and their earlier bands 10cc and, of course, Dr. Father and the Hot Legs. People that play on here are Kevin Godley Lol Creme, Nigel Gray, JJ Juraskic, something like that, from Art of Noise, Mr. Trevor Horn, Eric Stewart and Graham Gouldman of 10cc. Now the first song is called Wet Rubber Soup. Now this is 12 minutes and 25 seconds, and it's recycled from Rubber Bullets, Life is a Minestrone, I'm Not in Love, and various excerptions of Consequences. Okay, cleverly put together, you can't deny that, but something to listen to. It's a little bit disjointed. It's okay, I wouldn't go overboard on it, to be quite honest, but I get the idea and it's well put together. Second track on here is the brilliant Cry. Brilliant video, brilliant song. Great sort of English pop song. Very English, you know it sounds very English. It's a great track. I've always liked that one. Then we get Expanding the Business. Now this is 17 minutes. It's Expanding the Business, The Dare You Man, The Humdrum Boys in Paris and Mountain Tennyson. Now this is recycled from Business is Business, How Dare You, Nathaniel Mann, The Sporting Life, One Night in Paris, The Dean and I, Sand in My Face, and Mboppo. Again, I find this a little bit disjointed, but I must admit it's very clever how they put it together. It's just a little bit disjointed, but it is, you can just see the genius of Lol and Creme on this. It's just Lol Creme and Kevin Godley. There's just that madness. So it is very, as I said, it's very cleverly put together, but as a listen, it is a little bit hard on the ears, and you've really got to be a big fan of 10cc and Godley and Creme for this. But I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10 because it is very clever what they've done. Okay then, coming in at number 6, we've got the second album. It was released in 1978 and it is just called L. On here we have got Kevin Godley, that was lead and backing vocals, drums of course, plays the xylophone and lots of percussion, even the triangle, the clavinet, the hi-hat, all sorts of things, bass guitar as well. Lol does the backing vocals, electric pianos, guitars, the Creme bass, all sorts of instrumentals. Andy Mackay, yes, the saxophonist, better known of course for being in Roxy Music, and he plays all sorts of saxophones on this. The Badmus Samaritan voices is the one and only DJ Paul Gambaccini, and Jonathan Handelsman plays alto and soprano saxophones on track 4. So the first track on here is my favourite track on here. It's one of my favourite tracks by Godley and Creme, and it's The Sporting Life. Again, it's a jazzy sort of track, some nice tones on the saxophones, some great singing. It's just really, really good. That's my favourite track on this album. Then we get Sandwiches of You. There's some lovely titles of songs on this. This is strange as you get from these two. Absolutely bananas. Some lovely bits through it, I must admit. It is a good listen. Then we get Art School Canteen. Good song. Love the piano on this. It's wonderful. Interesting song with a great bass line as well. Then we get Group Life. One of the tracks I've got, it just irritates me to the core. It is too weird for me. That's saying something. Then we get Punchback. Love this track. It's so quintessential English. It's probably why I like it. You just won't get anything else like this. Only in the UK can we produce crazy stuff like this. It's absolutely brilliant. Foreign accents, a really well put together track. Very quirky. That's one thing about Godley and Creme. The tracks are very quirky. The piano is just good. It's just a fun track. Then we get Hit Factory and Business is Business. It's a very poppy sort of track and it works quite well. Some lovely tones on this. Some great singing from both Lol and Kevin. Absolutely super track. Then, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. There's some interesting stuff on here and some bizarre stuff, but it's a typical sort of Godley and Creme LP. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 5, we've got the 5th album from 1983, and it is called Birds of Prey. And we've got Kevin Godley on it, Lol Creme and Guy Barker does the trumpet on Save a Mountain for Me. So the boys do the rest of the instruments. First track on this one is called My Body the Car. I love this again. Very clever. I think all the voices have been sort of overdubbed and mixed to give this lovely effect. I think it's a very good track. It's certainly out there, but I do like it. Worm and the Rattlesnake. No, not keen on this. It's a little bit too busy for me. Then we get Cat's Eyes. Some really good stuff on there. There's a bit out of a tangent as well, but there's just something about it that I like. It's a really good track. Then we get Samson. It's got a little bit of a reggae beat to this, and it works well. Pretty good song. Then we get this Save a Mountain for Me. Quirky track. I love the trumpet in this. It really adds to it. I think it's a super little song. Then we get Madam Guillotine. Not too bad. It's got them lovely harmony background vocals that they did when they were with 10cc. Work well, they sing well together. I really like that track. Then we get Woodwork. There's a drum machine in this and it sort of ruins it. It doesn't work. Twisted Nerve, very 80s, very well produced, and a fine vocal from Kevin. Absolutely stunning stuff. And then we get another really good track. It's called Out in the Cold. Lots of ambience in this. It's my favourite track on it. It's got this mysterious vocal on it as well. Fantastic little track this is, and it's a good way to end the album. as I said, Godley and Creme albums can be a little bit of a hit and a miss. This is one of them. The good tracks are really good and very strong, especially that last track. But there's some real oddments on here. But on the whole, I think I do enjoy this. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Coming in at number 4, we have the third album from 1979, and it is called Freeze Frame. Nigel Gray's on it, Lol and Kevin, and lots of other peoples, and the art is done by Hypnosis. First track on this one is The Brilliant An Englishman in New York. What a catchy track this is. The video to it is really good as well. It's just one of them great poppy pop tunes. It's my favourite track on the album. Random Brainwave, interesting track. It's sort of got radio jingles in it, and very well put together. Really strong track. I Pity Inanimate Objects. This track, it reminds me of some of the stuff that Sparks have done. Now when you put, I think there's lots of similarities between Sparks and Godley and Creme. Very out there stuff at times. You know, the four of them, you got Russell and Ron, and then you've got Lol and Kevin. Very, very clever guys, and this is something about this song that's very Sparks. Then we get the title track, Freeze Frame, another of my favourite tracks. Great vocals on this, solid track. Then we got Clues, interesting track again. There's something about it, there's a hooky tune to it. The keyboards, it's weird, but it's weird as in wonderfully weird. Brasilia, Wish You Were Here. This has got Kevin Godley's wonderful vocal on this. Then you got the wonderful bizarre madness that these two come up with. You just cannot fail not to like tracks like this. Then we get Mud Shots, typical Godley and Creme. Quirky, pop, very, very good. And the last track on here is called Get Well So Soon. Again, it's one of them weird and wonderful tracks they come up with a wonderful vocal from Kevin. I think this is a really good album. It's very clever. It's very art pop, and I just love it. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 3, we've got the last album they put out that came out in 1988, and it is called Goodbye Blue Sky. We've got Lol Creme on guitars, bass, keyboards and vocals, Kevin Godley on the drums, percussion and vocals, Mark Feltham on harmonica. We've got Mitt Gammon on harmonica, Jimmy Chambers and George Chandler on backup. Then we got Heaven, which is spelt in capitals with in abbreviations, and A Little Piece of Heaven. This is a little bit of a, reminds me sort of that 1960s sound, like the Drifters and that sort. Very, very good. You got the lovely harmonies between Lol and Kevin. Really nice tune. I really like that. Don't Set the Fire to the One I Love comes next. Great title, isn't it? It's a quirky track though, very fun track. I do like it. Very good song. Golden Rings, hooky tune in this. Some nice singing on it. It's a really good song. I really like that one. Crime and Punishment. It's a long track, very ambient, some lovely harmonica on it, but it's a very, very strong track. Then we get my favourite on here. It's called The Big Bang. It's a very short track, but it's a 1940s swing, big band feel to it, and it's absolutely a brilliant track. Then we get 10,000 Angels. This has got that 50s vibe, 50s jazz sound. It should have been, it sounds like it's come from a big production musical. Absolutely terrific track. Then we get Sweet Memory. Again, one of them songs that could have been done by the Platters, the Drifters, that sort of era. It's really good track. Air Force One, it's really quirky tune. It hooks it. The harmonies are good. The tones on the keyboards. It's a really good track. Then we get the last page of history. This has got horns, lots of brass, and it's a bit of a boogie woogie sort of cross between a rock and roll and Glenn Miller. Really strong track. Desperate Times is the last track. Backing vocals on this are terrific, and the piano is strong. It's a great track. This is a great album, very diverse. It's got lots of bluesy stuff and jazz and pop, and for their last album I think this is a great way to sign off. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Top 2, really good top 2, but I always knew this would be the way it'd come out. These two, these were the two that were always planted at the top before I started. So coming in at number 2 is the 4th album from 1981, and this is probably the first real album that I got by them, and it's Ismism. And on here we have got, oh, so by the way, this, if you're wondering what Ismism is, it went out to Snack Attack in the USA. We've got Kevin Godley on vocals and drums and percussion and drum machines, Lol Creme on vocals, guitar, keyboards and synthesizers, and Bimbo Olcock does the saxophone. First track on here is the brilliant Snack Attack. I just love that bass line. It really holds it together. Got a lovely piece of sax. It's a long track, but it's absolutely brilliant. Then we got probably one of my favourite songs by these two, and it's the brilliant song Under Your Thumb. I love the start of this, and you get that lovely tone from Kevin on the vocals. It's just a great track. Joey's Camel, a little bit disjointed. It doesn't flow very well, but it's still good. It's a good track. Then we get The Problem. It's just got that classic Godley and Creme signature: weirdness, quirkiness and the cleverness. Really good. Ready for Ralph, weird as you like. Great vocals, some great saxophone on this. Then we have Wedding Bells, big hit for them. It's a very good song, very similar to the sort of pop songs they wrote while I was with 10cc. I like that track a lot. Then we get Lonnie, and it's a spoken word track. You know my feelings on this, but this actually works, and it's quite a little nice story. Then we get Sale of the Century. Love this. I love the keyboards. That organ sound is terrific. Then the last track is The Party. Lol and Kevin at their best of being weird, wonderful and quirky. All these little sound bites in this, it's interesting. These two couldn't do anything simple. Okay, big hit album for me. It's got two of their biggest hits on there. This just shows the talent of these two, and it's a fantastic album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. But my number one album, and a lot of people don't like this, but I love this album. It's their debut album, and it's called Consequences. It was released in 1977. It's a triple box LP, and it was created as a concept album, and it incorporates a play within all the characters, voiced by the great Peter Cook and singing from Sarah Vaughan, who was brought to the project by Phonogram after trying to secure Ella Fitzgerald. That would have been a coup. So we've got this. It's like a play with music from Lol and Kevin. So side A, first track is seascape. This is very eerie. There's got keyboards and accordion. Very simple piece with a fairground feel to it. Then we have wind. Now the bass line on this is so eerie. Again, it's ambient. It's beautiful. Fireworks. It is what it is. It's just loads of fireworks. Stampede is very Jean-Michel Jarre in places. The vocal harmonies are wonderful on this. Terrific song. Burial Scene. Sound effects galore. Wonderful little piece of music. Sleeping Earth. I love the use of the vibraphone on this. It actually gives it this real nice atmosphere to the track. Honolulu Lulu, one of my favourite bits on the album. It's got that Hawaiian feel, grass skirts, flashy shirts sort of thing, and that lovely sound. The choral's wonderful. I do like that. Then we get The Flood. Long piece. There's some cellos in this. It's very similar to Honolulu Lulu, but without the Hawaiian swing to it. It's really good. Then we get Side C, which is 5 o'clock in the morning. Now this is definitely my favourite track on the album. It's got a lovely choral to it. I love listening to that bit in the middle with Kevin's wonderful vocal and the harmonies of Lol. Terrific. Then we get dialogue. Now this is the start of the story. Only someone like Peter Cook could deliver something like this. His voice and his characters he came up. I love Peter Cook. I think he's a very funny man, and I think this is really good. You really have to listen to this to get into it. When Things Go Wrong. Very short little pub interlude music with lots of little more dialogue from the fabulous Peter Cook. Then we get some more about the play. Really weird story, but the piano, it's very like a piano bar sort of sound. Then we get Lost Weekend, which is my second favourite track on here. You got some lovely music and ambience from the boys, and little bits of Peter Cook flying in and out of this. It's really, really good. Side T, more wonderful written and produced stuff by Peter Cook. Very funny to listen to. Rosie, you get more of Peter Cook and a great vocal with Kevin Underless, and the orchestral bit in this is great. More dialogue that goes into Office Chase. There's some bongos in this, there's guitars, it's atmospheric. Peter Cook, wonderful. More dialogue from Mr. Cook, randomly thrown in. And then we get Cool, 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 very 50s sounding little track. Then we get a little bit more dialogue, and then more of Cool, Cool, Cool. Then the dialogue a bit weird and thing. Then we get Sila, which is very good. It's a lovely vocal from Kevin. Then we get more of the story. Then we get Mobilisation, a little bit of dialect in there. More dialect from Peter Cook. Then we get Please, 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 Weird. It's one of the tracks I couldn't get round of. The last bit of the story, and then we get this highlights of the track. Blint's Tune, 14 minutes of just wonderful classic music, jazz, bit of pop in there, all thrown into 15 minutes. What a way to end the album. One of my favourite bits of the album. It really is amazing. I think this album is a masterpiece. Very underrated album. Certainly before its time. It didn't go down too well with the critics, but I think it is just an absolute dynamite art. Probably one of the best art pop rock albums ever produced. But it's an album that you don't pop bits on, you put it on and you play it all the way through. Now I used to like listening to this on an aeroplane, because I'd put it on, especially at night. You know, when you have a night flight, you put this on and it's just a wonderful thing to listen to, and you really get into it. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. So there we go, a little bit of Godley and Creme for you. Got a classic album. We're still continuing with like the 2000s, and we're going to look at a band from Canada called Arcade Fire and their album Funeral. So join me for that later. Bye for now.